Hello and welcome to this video. In a previous video I talked about how to make a generic endpoint or REST API endpoint code. We went over it super quick, and I just wanted to highlight to you in the previous video why it's important for you to understand generics because of what they bring to the table when you're talking about API requests, REST APIs and so on. So what I've done here is I've created this Swift UI view using the JSON placeholder, which we didn't do in the previous video. So I've kind of implemented it without generics, and we just listed the posts at the moment. And when we tap on one of the posts, it takes to a post detail. Not very nice looking, but that's not the point of this video. This is not a Swift UI video, okay? The whole point of it is to extract this code out here, and we're only focused on this code out here to make it generic, all right? So we can use this code once again, and I'm going to talk through it a lot slower this time, okay? Right, so we're going to create a file, and it's just going to be a Swift file, and it's going to be download model data, all right? And when we come inside of here, this is where we're going to do all of the work, all right? So let's just, we're going to leave this code as it is, and we're going to talk through this code as we program it, all right? And so we're going to say mobile data here, download mobile data here. So in this one, I've used async and await, all right? Now, we don't necessarily need to use async and await. So what we're going to do is we're not going to use async and await. We're going to use the completion handlers once again, because we haven't used async and await yet in any of the videos, so I don't want to be explaining it in this one video. However, what I am doing is highlighting to you how much less code we need to write for doing that, all right? But we're still going to continue with the completion handlers. So first of all, we're going to have then our completion handler, and that needs to be escaping because we're going to save the data. And this is then going to be the completion handler that gets called. Now, what I want you to remember here is that we want to be able to have a switch statement. So we want to have an enumeration that says, have we got a successful response or have we got a failure? So we want to be able to have everything in one go. We don't want to have any like throwing or anything like that. That's the whole point of our enum, is the thing that is going to tell us what the problem is, okay? So now let's just start off by explaining this result, okay? And we can create a result here, and we can just create an error. Whoops, sorry, we want this as a result first of all. And this is what we need to explain because it's probably going to be the most confusing thing from it, okay? And now that we have this one, or we don't want two equals, now we have this one result. This is a generic result. It's an enum. And what we can do from here is we can use a switch case, as you can do with any other enum. So let's just first of all create our own one here. Okay, so enum, and we're just going to call it a result here. And inside of this, we're going to say success, and we're going to say failure. So this is basically what our result does, and it's just going to be a result, and we can say success or failure. And when we switch over this, we can then say if case failure, print failure, or we can say case success gives us then the success here. Now, we obviously want some data within inside of this, so we've got to extract it out and to pass us the data that we want here. And our failure is going to be an error, okay? And this is going to be an E, and this is going to conform to error, all right? So this is going to be a U. So we're passing in two generic type parameters up here. T is going to be the type that we're going to pass on the success, and U is going to be then the type that must conform to error we're going to pass on the failure. So when we come to this, we can pass failure. We've got to have some form of like network error, for example, that we can create. We can create ourselves, and that can conform to this here. And we just say case not found, and that's our 404. And this is then perfectly fine, but failure couldn't define the parameter, right? So we have to come here and we have to say results, and then we can have then string and then network. We want network error here to make it more clear. We can have network error in here. Whoops, and network error there. Okay, so now our switch case is a lot more happier. However, we need to be able to access the error here, and we can just say let error, and we can say then let info, for example, here. Okay, and now we can access this info. In this sense is of type string, but then if we had, like, say, our post, which I've already created in the other file, if we come over to the content view, you can see we've already got this post here. So let's just come in here and we can now use this post instead. And now when we come to here, we can just say this let error and let post is equal to info, just to get rid of the compiler errors and so on. And let's put this inside of here. Okay, so we don't have any compiler errors. So this is the important thing that we want to have a look at. This is the type of thing that we want to have a look at here. All right. Now we didn't have to necessarily put this by here. We could have put this there instead, and that would have worked perfectly fine too. So this is what we want to be able to send back. We want to send back this as the result inside of our closure. All right, so we can get rid of this now, and obviously we want this this post here to come out as a type parameter, a generic type parameter here. And we're going to say that this has got to be a codable as well, right? So at least we're forcing T to be a codable when we use it, because we need to know it's inside of download model data, because we're going to have to do some decoding here as well. All right. So now we have this. We now want to have, and let's just say we're going to pass just a request here first of all. A URL request, and so we're not going to worry about the creating of the URLs. We're just going to worry about the request itself. All right, so once we can do this, we can then say URL session shared and data task with completion handler using a request, and now we have the data, we have the response, we have the response, and now we have the error. Okay. And the thing that we've got here, we've got to check a whole bunch of things. First of all, we've got to check if error is nil, right? And if the error is nil, then we're going to send back, we're going to call the completion handler with this one error using the failure, okay? And we can get rid of this now because Swift actually has its own result as well. So you can see here when we click on it, it's already got its own results. So check if error is nil. If this is nil, then it's going to be network. So we're just going to say error, and we'll say error here. All right, it's just going to be a standard error that's going to be thrown. The next thing is that the response could be like not a 200, okay? And so it could just be a bad request as well, and we're just going to leave it as a bad request from there without any further information. So check status code is 200, if not failure with a bad request. And the next thing we've got to do is check that data is also not an optional, because if the error is not, so if the error is nil and the data is also nil, then we've got a real bad problem. So we've got unexpected error, all right? And we can't handle that. So we're going to have to then call check if data is not nil. If nil, then failure with unexpected error, okay? Other than that, if we're all happy, now we just need to do the decoding. So next we've got to decode the data to the the T type, okay? And if failure, then we're just going to say, let's say decoding error, okay? And that's going to have an error as well, all right, in here. So if failure, then failure with decoding error here, right? And otherwise, then completion with items, completion with decoded items here. So this is what we've got the task to do. And remember, all of these completions need to be called on the main thread. So first of all, let's go ahead with if error is equal to nil. So sorry, if we can say if error is equal to error, and we're going to return here because we don't want it going on any further. Dispatch queue. We haven't been over concurrency yet, so you're just going to have to trust me here on this. Dispatch queue and then async, and then we're going to return here completion, and then we said failure, and it's going to be then error, and that's going to be the error here. Okay, so this is what we don't know what the error was, so we're just going to call it with an error. Next thing we need to check first of all if or not this this response here is actually an HTTP response. So we've got if let guard HTTP response is equal to response as HTTP URL response, and if HTTP response status code is equal to 200, then we're going to move on. Else we are going to copy and paste this once again, and we're going to come in here, and this time we've got failure, and we are going to have unexpected error. Okay, and we need to make that an optional test as well. So now we know that we've got we now know that we've got bad request here. All right, this is bad failure, sorry, and bad request because we didn't get a 200 that we wanted. So the next thing we've got to do is check if the data is actually the data, and if not, we can copy and paste this, and this is now where we can come with the unexpected error because we don't know how to handle this. All right, we don't know how to handle not an error with status code 200 with no data. And so now we've done this, we need to decode the data. So we need a decoder, and we're going to say JSON decoder here. And with inside of this, we need to do this in a try catch block. So we're going to say do catch block, whatever you want to say. And let's just paste that in there. And if we do get an error here, then let's copy and paste this once again. And we are going to say there here then a decoding error. And we're just going to pass this error on further as well. So that's that bit done. Next thing we do is we're going to say items are equal to try, and we're going to say decoder, and we're going to say decode from. We know the type already, and we want to have an array of this. So this needs to be because we're going to have an array of T. This has got to be T.self. So we're saying we know the T already because it's told us that it's codable. Remember, this is a concrete type here that we have. So this is exactly the same as saying post here. It's exactly the same because this is the generic type post here. And now we have the data already. So we can put the data inside of here. And now we have the items. And now we can come back to our final step is saying basically completion. And we can say success, and we've got here an array of decodable and encodables. Well, we know already that we've got the items are here, so we can now build this, and we see that we've got no errors. And okay, that was all completed. We can manage to complete all of these, and all of this code is now going onto the main thread, and it's completely generic as well. All right, so let's go back over to our content view and let's make sure that everything builds as per normal. Yes, it does. So now let's come to our data right? Or sorry, we want to have download data, and the request we're going to create from here, and URL request, and then URL, so that's going to get sent there. And now we come to our download model data, and here we can say switch result. And right now our result doesn't know what it is, because we need to tell it what result type we have. We want here, and we want a post, and we want network error. Okay, and cannot convert. Oh, sorry, we want that post, a result of an array of post and a network error. Okay, so now we can come to our switch statement and say if success, then we've got items, and then if we've got failure, we can say error here. And so with inside of this, we know already that we are on the main thread. So we can come straight here and say post is equal to items. And then inside of here, we can say, let's just print the error anyway. And now we can come to this and basically just comment out this. But I know I've made a mistake here, and I always make this mistake, is you've got to make sure that you run resume your data task. Otherwise it will never get called, and we'll be just sat here waiting for it forever. And so now we should have, when this loads, we have exactly the same as we had before. All right, so let's now break our codes. So instead of it working, let's just do failure here, and we're going to say bad request, and come back down here once again and let it build and run, and we should now get nothing. And previews, we see bad request is what got printed here. Okay, so let's come back again and make sure our code works fine, and we say success and items. There we go, and come back to our content view, and we run this once again, and we're all perfectly fine again. So we can now delete this code that we've had. All right, and you can see, let's remove this down the bottom, let's remove this on the side. You can now see that we've managed to reduce the code down to just a function call and then a result, which means we receive our posts through the items here, and we can also handle the error how we want to. Okay, this is David editing the video. We didn't go through as much as what we should go through, so we are going to go through breaking the data even further. Now, we're all running perfectly fine, so let's just click backwards and forwards to see this. Let's now break the URL to make sure that we get it, that it's working correctly, right? And we come here and you can see bad request. Let's put it back again and save it, and it should then refresh, hopefully. Let's just build it once again. Let's update it once again, and we can see that we get it. We get the request coming through. So the whole point of this is that within inside of our code, we had to make sure that we actually handled all of the different cases here. This is what's important. All right. So let's just add a other error to this. Okay. And just come here just to confirm to you that this was actually where we broke it. All right. So let's just delete the stuff down here, and we come back to that, and we see other error. So this is the whole point of writing good code, because we can handle that error now however we want. So switch, not switch, not here. Switch error here, case other error, and we can print out the URL was wrong or something, and then otherwise we can say default, we just print the error instead. So this is the advantage of doing it this way. Okay, and when we get the other error, you can see here the URL was wrong or something. So this is the whole point of being able to write code that you can control, and you can handle all of the different network errors. You can handle the different use cases on the view end, and rather than worrying about the view with inside your data, and your download model data doesn't care either about what type it is. It's just literally downloading it, it's checking whether it's got a status code, and then it's sending that information on even further, and it's passing it always to the main thread as well. So this is saying, hey, I've got this data and I'm going to send it to the main thread, and you handle everything else. All right, it's separation of responsibility. Okay, let's go back now to the other David. All right, like I said, this is not a Swift UI video tutorial. It's all about how to create a generic function. Now, this function is if we go off and now create on the JSON placeholders, we now go off and create the users, for example, all right? And let's just come over to the struct, and we'll just say user. This wants to be codable as well, and we're going to need to use identifiable just for the sake of Swift UI being making it to make it possible. And we have to generate an ID property for that, and we're going to say name, and then we're going to say email here, and that's all we're going to add for it. And when we come down to here, we can say users instead, and we'll say user here, and we're going to add then the users to the post. But now we need to change this up here, whoops, this up here, and it doesn't have that, so we're going to say email, and this is going to be email, and this is then going to be name down here, and it's going to be then the name. All right, so we should now see that we've basically got exactly the same code, all right? All we've changed though is the type that we're going to access, and we come over here and you can see that we've got another view again. So the whole point of this is that our generic code, it didn't change. Okay, we changed the endpoint here, the path here, and we had to change the actual concrete type that was going to be used, but ultimately our view logic had to change slightly, but that was normal. You know, these two are not connected. You know, this is the whole point. Is you load the data and then you send it somewhere else to show the data. How it's shown is not relevant to how you got it. All right. With that said, this video is all about the results type. Okay, and that's what we went through in here, is to understand how we can pass all of the information, the error, the bad data, whether we got bad data, we've got everything. We've all passed it into one type. All right. So, and we can do this also with async and await. But I wanted to show you the old legacy way of how this used to be done. And prior to Swift actually implementing this results enum, it was super easy to be able to create your own enum just by using a little bit of generics. But as of Swift 5, they added this to the core library, the standard library itself, which meant you didn't have to implement it every single application that you did. Now, I've been developing Swift for a long time, so I've always implemented this myself. But as of Swift 5, you don't need to anymore as well. So this is how, if you see legacy code using URL session and using the completion handler, this, in my opinion, is one of the best ways to be able to handle it, because you go through all of the different responses here, and you handle them. You handle them separately, and that's where your network error comes into it, to say, hey, these are the different types of errors I've got, and I'm going to pass them on, and then you can just let your view decide how you want to control your errors, because that's the whole point of it. You just decide how you control your errors, because this is a network error. And so we can say here you can say case all of the different types of errors here, because one, you might then display a different screen, one you might then just ask to refresh it, or one you might automatically refresh it yourself because it might have been a timeout or something like that. So you never know this way, with by passing on an enum as the error, you can handle the errors with your own business logic in this failure area, and all successful logic is handled here. So this is the whole point of it. You know, you could have had another state object here to handle it differently, but we're not in Swift UI here. We're just talking about the result, and also showing you how to create generic functions. So with that said, I hope that you've got something out this one video. I hope this video has given you another reason why it's so important to learn generics. And I've also once again introduced you to networking, to be able to retrieve data over the internet, through the internet, using REST APIs, and how to encode, decode. I haven't showed you how to encode yet, but I've definitely showed you how to decode the data using JSON decoder. And we've also seen how you can then use generics also to decode generic types. With that, I've also shown you here quickly about dispatch queue, and to say, hey, because this request is going to be done on a different thread, okay, a background task, and I'm not going to get into it. I was just saying that this is going to remove the work from the view has its own thread, and this work needs to be done on the back of another thread, so the view can continue doing what it does. Okay, but like I said, I don't want to get into that. So this is showing you how you can cope with this. Now you could make this a lot cleaner and so on, but for the sake of introduction, it's all that we need. With that said, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and if you do have any questions, feedback or concerns, please feel free to put those questions in the comment section down below. I will attempt to answer all of them with a textual answer, and if I can't and it's too complicated, then I'll just make a video to explain it to you in a video. Thank you very much for all of your support. I hope that you are really learning stuff now. As you can see here, we've managed to bridge between Swift, the standard library, and also then Swift UI very nicely. And the whole reason why I'm doing this is because I want to slowly move you into this sum view thing, okay? Because this is an opaque type. But first of all, I wanted to really give you some good examples of using generics, because ultimately, using my course here, using my videos, when you come to Swift UI, you already understand this. You'll be like, sum view, I know exactly what that is, opaque type, not a problem, let's get on, and we'll use generics all over it. Okay, so you're going to become a master of this. So yeah, I know you will be, because if you've watched all the videos, you've kept up with it. I've done them systematically, I've done them pragmatically, to know that I'm passing my information in a very, very good order that never leaves anything out. Okay, granted, in this video we've got dispatch queue, and we've got a couple of other small things like codables and so on, but I'm bringing them in. I'm bringing the complexity in to show you. Yeah, there's no point me teaching you codables beforehand, because we're still on generics, but hopefully you'll have enough knowledge already. Your aptitude, I know if you understand this video, your aptitude is enough to be able to cope with codable by yourself. But we're going to use codable throughout all the future videos, so it's going to become apparent how important it is. And we're going to be using URL session throughout all of our videos, because iPhone applications, iPad applications, watch, and so on, they all use the internet, and you are going to use REST APIs all day long, or you're going to be using sockets. I don't know. You're going to be using loads of things, Bluetooth, to be able to communicate with IoT devices, etc., etc., etc. So with that said, thank you very much for watching. My name's David Dawn, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao, and goodbye.